We're dreaming big dreams and we're also thinking small by not despising small things. That's what we're doing this week, and that's what we're talking about in the devotions this week, and I hope you've enjoyed it so far. And what I want to focus on today is small influence. And I want to start off by saying there's actually no such thing as a small influence. If you have any influence, it is significant, it is powerful, and it's actually big. All I mean by small influence is maybe you don't have as big an influence as a pastor preaching to people or someone leading a massive organization. Maybe you're a stay-at-home mom and you think, you're not really seeing a lot of people. But I want to tell you, you have influence. It's important and it's significant. So don't despise that influence you have. You might think it's small, but it's actually very big. And the greatest definition of leadership I've heard is simply leadership is influence. In fact, most of the best leaders out there define leadership as influence. So if you have influence, you are a leader. And maybe currently you only have influence with your children or with one or two employees, but that is still influence. If you think of Jesus, he obviously had many people that came to his meetings, there were multitudes, and he also had, many people following after him, but he only had 12 committed disciples. And that, can sound like small influence, but those 12 disciples went on to change the world. And you, as a believer, as a human being, have influence. So make sure it's a good influence. I've heard of the evangelist who preached at the meeting where Billy Graham got saved. And apparently that night, not a lot of people attended and not a lot of people responded to the altar call. And afterwards, he felt like that it wasn't a success. But what he didn't know is that night he had an influence on Billy Graham, who went on to preach to millions of people, who shared the good news of Jesus with millions of people, and who led millions of people to Jesus as their Lord and Savior. So know today that you have influence, and don't despise your influence, even if it seems small to you. I want to read to you out of Matthew 5 from verse 13 to 16, and I hope it blesses you today, and I hope it reminds you that you have influence. And Jesus is saying here, you are the salt of the earth as a believer. But if a salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand and gives light to everyone in the house. And then in verse 16 he says, in the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. So let's do that. Let's take heed to that instruction, and let's remember that we have influence, and even if it feels like small influence, it is significant, and we should never despise it. So remember today, you're a leader, you have influence, you can make a difference in the lives of others, and you are highly favored and deeply loved.